Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of distillationsbl. Today I'm going to be reading from another one of my posts on Instagram, and this one comes from the book Truth and Reality by Otto Rank. And Otto Rank was one of Freud's students who, similar to Jung, sort of split off onto his own and developed some of his own ideas. And I was introduced to Otto Rank through The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker. So he does a fantastic job of communicating Rank's ideas and how revolutionary they were, or maybe that's Ernest Becker's perspective, but I think Ernest Becker had a deep appreciation for Rank and the direction that he took it in. So this will be, I think, a somewhat short one, but let's bring it up and let's just jump into it. Quote, "The active hero who represents the conscious power of will can act because he knows only his will, not its origin and motives. He comes to grief just in this, that he cannot foresee the consequences of his act." So I'm assuming here that the active hero, I know Rank is an interpreter of myth, and so we're working with a hero here, maybe like Joseph Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces, the monomyth. There's this common structure of the hero's journey. So we've got this hero. And the hero who is active, so we've got this active hero. He's using his will, this conscious power of will. And the active hero can act because he only knows his will. He doesn't know where it came from. He doesn't know, in a way, why it's there. The motives, the origin, that's all a mystery. It's like there's no underpinning to this thing, but here's this thing, this creative will to act in the world or to pursue a vision. And this active hero, again, has the power to carry this out precisely because he only knows that will, not where it came from and the motive underneath. So he's able to act because of that, but he also, the double-edged sword, the other side to that, is that he comes to grief in that fact that he can't foresee the consequences of his act. And I think you would be able to foresee the consequences of the act if you were able to map out this history of the will, if you knew its origins and you knew what was motivating it, the motives, then you'd be able to draw a line and predict into the future, okay, so here's probably the consequences of this will coming into the world. Because I have the whole timeline here, I can project out into the future. It's not this floating factor. It's not this will that is just existing in and of itself, separate from, its origins and its motives. When it's separate from the origins and motives, it's just this thing that you can act on, but you grieve because you don't know what's going to happen. You can only carry it out. And I think we'll probably come a bit later to, you can only carry that out with some sort of faith that it's coming from, a good place or a divine origin or something like that. But really the thing itself is just totally isolated. It's this double-edged sword idea. So let's keep going. Quote, "The passive man of suffering cannot act because his self-consciousness restricts his will, which manifests itself as guilt feeling in the face of the deed." So the passive man of suffering, been there. I identify with this state of suffering, and you just can't act at all, is because your self-awareness, your self-consciousness, this awareness of who you are and what you are. I'm a human who needs to get along with other humans and exists really in this community and history, and I have a place in this world, and my will is restricted because in the face of enacting this will, how can you do anything knowing that it could potentially go wrong? Who am I to do anything? Who is anyone to do anything? It's almost like the Hippocratic oath, like first do no harm. Before anything, just do no harm. And so the passive man of suffering can't act because his self-consciousness is just bringing up this Hippocratic oath. Just do no harm, do no harm. And here you're in the face of the deed, and this feeling of guilt restricts your ability to act at all. Quote, the spiritually creative type, which I have characterized as artist, lives in constant conflict between these two extreme possibilities. Okay, so now we have a third type. So we had the active hero, we had the passive man of suffering, and now this third type is the spiritually creative type. So artist. Rank's other work is art and artist is like, big time. That's his thing. Maybe I'll do, some posts on that. But this artist is living in constant conflict, vacillating between these two extreme ends, these two extreme possibilities. And that sounds right as well, that you've got this will, you don't know where it comes from, but you have this will to create something. And then you have this self-consciousness and this awareness of who you are and where you came from and how you fit into this community of humans and how deep and rich humanity and life and all of this stuff is. Do no harm. First, do no harm. And you're in these, you're pinballing between these two things. You're swinging from one extreme to the other. And okay, we'll go on. I wonder if the spiritually creative type goes between these two things, but are they capable of acting, of creating? Okay, so here, the artist solves it. Quote, the artist solves it for himself and others since he transposes the will affirmation creatively into knowledge, that is, expresses his will spiritually and changes the unavoidable guilt feeling into ethical ideal formation, which spurs him on and qualifies him for ever higher performance in terms of self-development. Wow. Okay. So the artist, this spiritually creative type. So we've got the active hero. So maybe that guy's a fool. The active hero is just kind of letting it rip. But he's doing things. We have the passive man of suffering who doesn't do anything. And now we have the spiritually creative type, the artist, who has both of the extremes. And the way to solve it, the middle path, is to take this active will, this will affirmation, and turn it creatively into knowledge. Okay, and how are we getting the knowledge? Expressing the will spiritually and changes the unavoidable guilt feeling into ethical ideal formation, the unavoidable guilt feeling. So the concern for humanity and your place in this vast cosmos and reality and other humans getting along with other humans, you're taking what was restrictive self-consciousness in the light of those facts, and you're taking it's unavoidable. You're taking that extreme, that unavoidable guilt feeling, and you're expressing the will, the active part spiritually, and it's transforming it into ethical ideal formation, which spurs him on and qualifies him for ever higher performance in terms of self-development. So it's finding this happy middle and acting on the active will, even though you don't really know where it comes from, but doing justice to the stultifying, terrifying, paralyzing, Hippocratic oath stuff. And through the combination of those things, creating an ideal formation. So I wonder, an ethical ideal formation. So is it sort of like you have to find this middle path, and you have to bring it into the world, but by doing justice to both extremes, and in that, ethics is, the right way to live. In that middle path, that is the right way to live. And then you just kind of keep repeating this process and taking into account the extremes. I'm probably repeating myself a lot now, but it's this kind of middle path with the two extremes. And that spurs him on, and not just spurs him on, but for ever higher performance in terms of self-development. Okay, so I certainly really identify with both of these extremes, probably more so the passive man of suffering, because whatever I've created up until this point, it's been very halting, hesitant, one step forward, two steps back, lack of consistency. And it's because of this, this fear that I cannot foresee the consequences of my actions, even though the inspiration, the awe and wonder that Plato and Aristotle and the Greeks, said are the birth of philosophy, this awe and wonder just at the majesty of reality of creation, if you want to get religious, but, or spiritual, but the universe, the cosmos, reveling in how incredible it is, and at the same time, like, what is this? It's so crazy. It's so weird. I feel like the more you kind of familiarize yourself with scientific facts, just things that we take for granted, non-locality in quantum mechanics or something like that, the more incredible the reality becomes. Incredible in terms of like, whoa, like amazing, that's incredible, but incredible in terms of like incredible, like this isn't even credible, like what is even happening? This is so outrageous, it's so strange and out there. And to me, my sort of the origins of my will to create came from just being in that place of constantly wanting to know more and asking why, and then being dumbfounded by the answers, and then being inspired by what I was consuming. And, this account, maybe not the YouTube, but, my Instagram and all of these quotes that I put up, like, this is an account of, my account is an account of these things that have spoken to me and spur on, more acts of will. But in a way, I don't really know what the consequences are going to be. I think I would be suffering profoundly more so if I never created this account, if I never did anything. And there's more that I want to do. So in a way, I've been trying to find this happy medium, this middle path that takes into account both extremes. I mean, a lot of this is sort of my angst. I'm just trying to codify my angst of being in this very situation. And, this is probably very biased data because I share the things that I resonate with. But I shared this probably because I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. So here I am, I fit the type, but that's because I'm looking for confirmatory evidence probably. But this is in a way sort of, I'm trying to do justice to the hesitation and the fear of not knowing the consequences of the act and being a passive sufferer, but then also putting it out there. And that's the creative will. That's the active, heroic deed, is to just put it out there. Even if it's fretting over the extremes, it's out there. And I'll never really know the consequences, but if it's born in that awe and wonder that is the origin of philosophy, and philosophy love of wisdom, I hope I can only just have faith that maybe it's the beginning of wisdom. It's the beginning of pursuing wisdom, not the attainment, but the pursuit. That what is being created as a result of all of that is this ideal formation. It's this middle way between the two extreme possibilities, and something that spurs me on to higher performance and self-development, and hopefully resonates with others and transforms this unavoidable guilt feeling into something good. Like it's only toxic. It's exclusively toxic when it isn't changed into a creative act. It just only corrodes when it's festering in there and it doesn't find expression. Like, at least let me take this hemming and hawing, and I'm using all these analogies for, this feeling. Let me at least transform it into an act out there. And maybe one day I'll get by this phase of like, I'm just going to share about my being really scared about sharing. That's really kind of what it comes down to. I'm just going to keep talking about how scared I am of this thing. Maybe one day, and I hope I do. If that is aligned with the path forward, if that is the right thing to do, then I should get over this and then just contribute to the world. No, without getting into my psychological state, but let me just contribute. Let me just teach philosophy. Here's what Plato said. Here's what Aristotle said. Here's a really interesting way of understanding what Plato and Aristotle and Leibniz and whoever, Wittgenstein and, all these cool guys, here I am teaching what they had to say. That would just be a positive contribution. But for now, until I get there, that's maybe the ever higher performance, and the self-development is I'll get to that stage. But for now, I'm finding this middle path. Okay, I think that's enough out of me right now. I don't know how much is going to make the cut, because I think there was a lot of rambling going on. But I wanted to get something out there because it's been a little bit since my last post. I hope you enjoyed the new microphone. It's a new, unnecessary, I'm sure, purchase, but editing these videos together and then the audio was just, it was pretty god-awful. My last mic was $39.99 microphone that I bought 10 years ago or close to 10 years ago. So I think it was time for a change. Probably a waste of money, but I'll let you guys be the judge of that. Hopefully it's coming through loud and clear. All right, I'm done. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing with anyone else who you think might be interested in this. I'll keep screaming into the void. my own echo chamber, and then maybe I'll get to a place where I can really contribute. But thank you for listening. Till next time.